on the road in San Francisco is probably not going to work out. The Cleveland Browns, and then let's just close this out. Dallas Cowboys fighting for a playoff spot.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District's Countdown to Camp. It is the last in the series. We're going to be breaking down the coaches. I'm Nathan, that's Stoner, and that's Trev, and we have a special guest joining us. In fact, you've seen him before. We've joined he's joined us. It's none other than the legendary man himself. George Carmi here is coming on with us. Give him that round of applause. Thanks, George.
What's up, fellas? How you guys doing
joining us. Love the new threads, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Really repping the burgundy and gold there. You are going to have an opportunity to go to training camp. I know we're going to probably work with you, talk about that. You're going to be heading out there Friday. Mm-hmm. Is there any position you're looking at, and kind of want to hunker down on?
Oh man, all eyes on quarterback, man. I want to watch my boy Carson Wentz out there. I want to see what's going on. So, he definitely is a polarizing topic in DC, as always, as it had been my whole life in regard to DC and the quarterback. I definitely want to see him thrive. I want to see him do pretty well. I want to see that live arm that everyone keeps talking about. The wide receivers are intriguing to me too. I love, obviously Terry McLaurin. I love that guy, but I also want to see Jahan Dotson live, and I want to see if Curtis Samuel is actually healthy. Curtis Samuel is essentially like a free agent addition to our team because he barely played last year. So it'll be kind of cool to watch him kind of step up and become a player for our team as well. Brian Robinson, I love him as a draft pick. I'm really excited about him. And the tight ends, man, Cole Turner. I mean, people keep talking about him as a potential touchdown threat, red zone threat. So those are guys to keep my eye on. Hopefully they put on a show when I get there.
Well, for them to be successful, they're going to need some help from the people we're going to be talking about
100%.
Today, and that's the coaches. Stoner, why don't you hit us with the first slide here? We are going to be doing a roster review on coaches. A reminder here that we're not going to be kind of breaking down each individual, but kind of just talking overall on how they, feel within the group and kind of maybe some expectations for the season. Make sure while you're here that you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you head out to George's channel as well, the full press coverage, and check out what the good work they do here. Trev, we're going to start with you on this next slide. We're going to be breaking down the defensive coaches first. Is there any names here that kind of stand out to you that may be on the hot seat, or ones that you're happy we don't know more from?
Hot seat, I'm going to say maybe I could be going to limb here, but Steve Russ, linebackers coach. That some people might not think that, but I just think that because of the lack of production and that spot that we have on our team the past several years. Yeah, Cole Holcomb's a nice complementary piece to it, but he's not like someone you should game plan for on defense. Like, oh, Cole Holcomb is this, he's that, but he's a nice complementary piece. But we brought in Thomas Davis for end of his prime. That was a waste. Reuben Foster was hurt. That was kind of people say it was a bust. We have David Mayo to come in instead. And then Jamin Davis, we drafted him. He didn't really perform as the 19th overall pick as he was supposed to be and live up to be. So I don't know if it's the player or the coaching. So I guess that's my hot seat right there, because that's kind of a position that we're lacking. We don't look to bring in anybody. We say it all the time in press conference. We're going to add this. And training camps tomorrow, we haven't added anybody yet. We still have time. But I just feel like that's a hot seat position. And then Sam Mills the third. You guys can probably agree with me on that. I know pre-show you wanted to talk about it, so I'll name him, and you guys can elaborate on that.
I think the big difference between the two there, Trev, is one has actually been given first-round picks galore to deal with, and the other one has one that was largely played out of position. In fact, Jamin Davis is someone Stoner is actively against, thinks that he's going to fail this year. Stoner, is that
hang on, that was Trev. That was this guy up here that's really killing
you
mentioned that
I don't wish failure. Okay, hold on. We don't wish failure on anybody on our squad. We don't.
That's right.
But I do think he has a lot of work to do to get to where he was.
He's couching his argument a little bit.
I can vouch for Stoner through crossover pods. I've heard the hate coming from Trevor about Jamin Davis. Put that
Thank
out
you.
there.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
Stoner, you don't have high hopes for Jamin Davis. How much of that is on Steve Russ?
Gosh, I don't know. That's so hard to tell, because what you want to see, everybody says this, right? Everybody says he played out of position last year. He was an outside backer at Kentucky. That's where he made his bones, chasing guys down, right?
Yeah.
Moving these lines of scrimmage, moving across the lines of scrimmage, making plays all over the field. Then they put him in the box, right? And he didn't excel. Now, if Steve Russ, who in this case is the linebackers coach, if he sees that that's not working, he should be standing on a table and saying, "Hey, Jack Del Rio, hey, Ron Rivera, this is not where he's going to excel." So you do put a little bit of blame on the coaches for that. Although in the end, it always comes back to who's the most accountable, the defensive coordinator and the head coach. So I do put a little bit of blame on Steve Russ, who I never heard of until I made that slide.
Really?
I mean, you hear the name, but I don't know anything about him, is what I should say.
You haven't really dug into him.
Yeah.
George, the other one there that Trev alluded to was Sam Mills III. Do you feel like his seat really is hot? Is there something he could be doing more? Because we really have not seen the production that this is nationally known.
Bring back
the
Jim
Washington franchise has 4 first-round picks up front. And Sam Mills isn't getting the production you want. And we've seen some breakdowns here where they're kind of freelancing. How much do you place on Sam Mills, and how much of this is just our players maybe not listening to his coaching?
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because Sam Mills is a pretty accomplished coach. He's a 17-year defensive lines coach. He actually was a standout defensive lines coach at in Carolina. He had Julius Peppers and Kawan Short and Starla Tulele. They actually had a top 10 defense in 2014. So his credentials are there. But you brought up a good point, Nathan. Is it really is he being able to relate to a younger generation? Because there was a disconnect last year, and I'm sure you guys know. By the end of the season last year, Matt Ioannidis and Duron Payne, but more Matt Ioannidis, people kind of sleep on this. There was a disconnect and arguments within the actual defensive line room. So there wasn't a lot of chemistry going on there. And I think that's why the defensive line room actually blew up. A lot of people are saying it might have been money and things like that, but we lost two reserves that went on to other teams. So there is a disconnect, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think with Montez Sweat and Chase Young, I'll probably put it more on them. I know maybe it might not be popular to our fan base, but Chase Young kind of, he's young. He's 23. He was getting a lot of endorsement deals and a lot of popularity, and he's our face of the franchise. When he went out to go for independent training, there were a lot of people in his ear telling him what to do and how he should behave and how he should carry himself. And I think that kind of deviated from what Sam Mills wanted to do. So I guess, I'm an educator by trade. Is it bad that your students don't actually pay attention to you? I'm not sure. We'll see how that goes. But I do think that he has the credentials, and I think this year is going to be very important. I know we're going to get down to it later on in the podcast, but Jack Del Rio, I think he has the hottest seat amongst everybody in the room, and about my opinion, I think there really isn't any more excuses for him. So that's a hard one for me to say. I would, for now, if you want me to make a declaration, I think it's the players being more not necessarily being receptive to him, and I think he has the skills, and hopefully there's more synergy this year. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, you brought up Jack Del Rio's hot seat there, and I'm going to kind of continue down that line of thinking. Defensive back coach Chris Harris was a name being tossed around as a potential upgrade to either Jack Del Rio or even some other teams poaching him. Stoner, you're not as impressed with Chris Harris. Why is that?
Well, I mean, I've heard that. I've heard the same thing. We've all heard that, right? When Jack was on the hot seat, especially in the off season, right? Just get rid of him. You don't have that problem, and promote defensive backs coach Chris Harris. Oh, the defensive backs have been scary good the last couple of years. No, they haven't. So why are we promoting this guy who all we see back there is miscommunication for the last couple of years? Now they seem to improve second half of last season. But it was you always heard that miscommunication. To me, miscommunication is coaching mostly, because they're not obviously getting the coaching necessary, the reps, the understanding of what's going to happen in order to have the proper communication. So I don't know why we want to promote a guy whose position group has been really not good the last few years. Otherwise, I mean, maybe he's a good leader. Maybe he's a good delegator, all of those things that you need from somebody who's a little bit higher up. But as far as just saying, pick a guy from that defense to promote to defensive coordinator, he's not first on my list.
He's first on my list.
Who's first on your list, Stoner? Of this group here that they would promote from within, who would you put?
Oh, he's not on this list. I can't seem to find him, but his name's Greg Williams. He's going to be DC.
He's going to be in DC anyway, right? So
he's going to be in DC anyway. Bring that dude on and start doing some more bounty gate. Start getting this aggressive defense again.
George, what do you think about what Stoner laid down there as far as not, you kind of brought it up before, is like how much of that is Jack Del Rio and how much of that is Chris Harris? You know, you brought it up for Sam Mills, but would you like to see Chris Harris kind of get that promotion if Jack Del Rio moves on?
Me personally, no. I would like to look outside of the team. I think there's definitely some more up and coming defensive coordinators that we could possibly pluck off or something like that. Every year, a big name, defensive coordinator also springs loose too. Like I think the Giants got a good one. It's like Wink Martindale, I believe, for the Ravens went over to the Giants, and that's a steal of a addition over there. And I think you can get defensive coordinators, I guess, quote unquote, off of the waiver wire if they do kind of spring loose. That's a great point, though. I like what Stoner brought up, the fact that Chris Harris, the defensive backs have not been dominant, right? They haven't, I guess the talent hasn't really been that high end either. I guess, Kendall Fuller, people love him around here, but I kind of view him as like a tier 2, tier 3 defensive back. I don't see him as elite right there. But William Jackson was supposed to be a stud. He came in and didn't have a great transition over here in DC. Defensive backs haven't been great. I think people like his energy. I think people like his, intensity, but I don't know if he does have that fire to lead a defense. And what's crazy is that Jack Del Rio, he's done it before. He's been a head coach in the Jaguars and the Raiders and the Broncos. So, he has a wealth of experience, but like, maybe that's what's the disconnect in DC is. Maybe it's like there's 30-year coaches that are teaching 20-year-old players. Maybe there is a disconnect there. Maybe that's what's going on. But so we'll see. And I guess one more thing to kind of jump on with Steve Russ is, I was doing some research for the pod. Jack Del Rio was he was a linebackers coach for the Ravens when they had Peter Boulware and Ray Lewis and all these, Jamie Sharp, all these great players. But why can't he translate that? Why can't he actually bring anyone up? Like Jamin Davis was supposed to be a height, weight, speed product, but he didn't actually he didn't turn out that well. I guess it was because of the experience of Kentucky, but we are missing something there. So, if it was up to me to answer your question, always look to upgrade. Don't always go in-house and try to find the best candidate available, in my opinion.
Not looking for that familiarity there for an upgrade within the defensive roster. Let's take a look at the offensive coaches here. These are the position coaches. We're going to do the coordinators here next. Trev, is there a name here that kind of, we have the running backs, Randy Jordan, of course, Jen King, the assistant running back coach, gets a lot of love, deservingly so. And then John Matsko, kind of the top 3 names there on the board are probably the most well-known within the coordinator group, like, right, the position. Is there anybody else that you think that we should be looking at as far as the coaches?
I like Juan Castillo as a tight ends coach. I know everybody was upset when Pete Honer left, but all you ever heard about Pete Honer was the way he talked to his discipline his players in practice. Like, other than that, you really didn't see it translate on the field. Logan Thomas was great, but probably not because of coaching, just because of natural athletic ability. So I think bringing in Juan Castillo, who's been around the league for a long time with different tight ends, has some credentials. I think that's a great one. I don't know who Todd Storm is. Whatever. Drew Terrell. I guess we'll see how that plays out with the receiving core we have. I think our biggest problem is our receiver core health. It's not that they're unskilled or lack of production, is they don't have to give themselves a chance because of health. So can't really say that wide receivers. I like Jennifer King. She works hard. Just to be a women's coach in the NFL is one thing, but to be a running backs coach, which is to help control a lot of egos in the running back room, because they like the ball, they want the ball all the time. So
I think our running backs might have more of a diva mentality than our wide receivers. It's actually a fairly interesting thing going on there.
John Matsko, love what he's done with offensive line, because we find versatility in that position, and pretty much everybody can play every position offensive line. We're nationally known for offensive line, ranked wise too. So, and then Ken Zampese, he's been with how many quarterbacks in his time here, like the past 2-3 years. So you really can't evaluate him until maybe now this year that you have a legitimate starting quarterback in Carson Wentz. So Luke Del Rio, he's got to go. Your last name's Del Rio. I don't care what you do. You got to go.
That was actually my question for Stoner. I mean, we have a Del Rio on this page. On the previous page, we had a Rivera.
Yep.
Is there a problem with the nepotism? Do you think? I mean, both of them are just kind of their quality control coaches. I think it's just kind of something that gives them a job. But Stoner, you're saying get the younger Del Rio out there. Is there a specific thing he's doing wrong, or is it just because he's associated with one of the
his last name is Rio?
Yeah. Ask me that question again, the straight up question that you asked before. Just the straight up.
Is there something he's doing wrong?
Well, no, I mean the question was that I was hoping you would ask. Which one?
Because I asked.
Is there nepotism going on here?
There's absolutely the nepotism it runs deep. Like I said, we saw the Rivera on the offensive page, and obviously the Del Rio too.
That is not necessarily an offensive or defensive coach. He's like some sort of overall quality control type coach. Another Rivera kid, I believe.
Probably a strength coach, right?
Yeah, so you got two of them. You got but you see it everywhere, right? When Gruden was here, he had his nephew in as the strength guy or whatever. So
Shanahan hired his own son as offensive coordinator.
Right. So that's fairly normal. I mean, look, you got Scott Turner. It's not like his dad is coaching here or has any role, but that's kind of how it works. The Zampese family as well, all of that. So that goes on. You go with who you know, right? And Jack Del Rio trusts his kid. Ron Rivera trusts Jack Del Rio. Ron Rivera trusts his own kids. So that's who you're going to kind of get into these particular jobs. They're usually like assistant to the coach, right? Assistant to the quarterback.
Assistant to the regional manager is what.
Exactly.
That's really what some of these titles look like. I'm going to put the slide back up here. Yeah, he's assistant QB's offensive quality control.
Yeah. I mean,
Luke Del Rio, which is interesting, by the way, that Del Rio's kid is on the offensive side of the ball. Maybe that's something that he.
And assistant, was he a quarterback when he played football in his day? Is that why he's assistant QBs as well?
I think he was. If I remember correctly,
I'm gonna look that up right now.
Or at least one of the Del Rio kids was a pretty good quarterback in college, I believe. Or maybe it was a nephew or something like that. But yeah, I think one of the Del Rios was a good quarterback. But you know what I'd like to see on here with all of these?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
he played University of Alabama, Oregon State University, and Florida. He played 3 different schools.
That's probably why I know him. Yeah, from Florida. I remember him. But you know what I'd like to see on here is I would like to see some sort of timeout management coach. Right, that's their job.
You mean challenge flag?
You know what's funny? Actually, I'll bring this up. But I was doing some research for the show. Sam Mills is that guy. Did you guys know that?
Oh,
no.
Really?
Oh, well, no wonder it's been boggled half the time.
Exactly. No I didn't realize. So Sam
why would
Mills,
they make a defensive line?
He's the challenge coach, and he's a time management coach, and he's the timeout coach. I didn't know that till I was doing some research for the show.
Cool.
Trav is asking why a defensive one. If you look, they probably have more defensive snaps than they do have offensive snaps. So you're gonna probably put it with the one that gets the most snaps there.
They're probably preoccupied or something like that.
Yeah, and you when you're dealing with timeouts and time management, that's on the offensive side of the ball. So you want somebody who's not involved with every single thing that's going on. So I get the defensive side, but I want that to be his only job. Right? That's his only job.
The pullback coach, right? What's that one that exactly. I literally just pay, you can pay me with beer and I'll be the guy who just runs up and down the sideline making sure the coaches get off the field. Like that's all cool. I would do that. The take back coach as it is. George, we talked about a little bit about Matsko there. Mm-hmm. He has a couple new pieces on this offensive line. Do you expect him to continue coaching up to the level that we've expected? Trev alluded to the fact that they were nationally known as one of the better offensive lines. Mm-hmm. Matsko's a big part of that. 2 new pieces. What are you expecting from the line in his coaching this year?
So I think the offensive line took a step back in regard to talent, to be honest with you, right? I think Eric Flowers, he kind of revived his career here. He's a big boy. He's drafted as a left tackle. He's supposed to be a left tackle. That was kind of a failed experiment, bumped him into guard, but he's a brute. They put him at left guard. He was a great power rush offensive lineman. Same thing with Brennan Sheriff. They were kind of bullies up front. So I think in regard to talent, we are taking a step back. But I do believe in Matsko. I think it will kind of revive some of the magic that we have there because Andrew Norwell, we used to play both of them. Trey Turner and Andrew Norwell were together in Carolina. Norwell became an All-Pro. Trey Turner was a 5-time Pro Bowler. Granted, they're at the end of their careers, but there's going to be some like chemistry. There's going to be some acknowledgement and some familiarity with them, and I think he'll be able to piece it together. I think John Keim mentioned it on his podcast. In regard to high level capabilities, they might not be as high as they were without Sheriff and without Flowers, but I think their depth is actually deeper than in previous years, and I think the line will be okay. So we'll see if he can get him to that level. I do think that they are. I mean, Sheriff was a great player. I mean, he played 12 games a year. He was too expensive, but he basically was a great player. So I think we're going to miss that. It's kind of hard to be like he's not that great. So we'll see how that goes. But
he was all pro for a reason. So it's come on. I mean, he definitely had the talent. So I agree with George there. Yeah. Now, Eric Flowers, though, I might actually disagree with you here, George, because Flowers is still actually looking for a job.
I saw that. And Lennon Collins, too. They're both just sitting there on the waiver.
Both are sitting out there. And I'm not saying that they won't get a job, Stoner, but the fact that they haven't signed already, I think is pretty telling that it was the right decision to remove them. When you're talking about Eric Flowers, Georgie brought it, he revived his career, right? When he came to Washington, we were really his last chance to perform.
Twice.
And then he did.
Twice.
He performed so well. He got himself a deal out and a good deal out in Miami, and then Washington traded for him back. Didn't even have to pay the full contract. So really Washington making some pretty savvy moves there, which is important as we get later on, because Ron Rivera, is the center of all this. He does kind of play some of those GM roles. But I do think that it's interesting. I do agree with you, George. I think that talent-wise, we did take a step back, but if the group plays collectively, kind of like how Warren Sapp talked about the defensive line, if they play collectively, they're going to be better as a whole. And that's what I'm looking forward to with that offensive line and Matsko. Ken Zampezy is a well-known name, and so hopefully he will be able to do and revive another career here in the Burgundy and Gold, and that's with Carson Wentz. So hopefully that'll work out. Let's move on to the coordinators now. Previous additions to the Countdown to Camp, those numbers in parentheses were their age, but Jack Del Rio might act like he's a 3-year-old, but he has been with the team for 3 years. That's what those numbers reference there, is the actual number of years they've been in that position with the team. Of course, we have Jack Del Rio, Scott Turner, and then Nate Kaczor, who's actually the highest tenured here with 4 years. Trev.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you the Jack Del Rio question. What do you feel for special teams? Because your boy Trapke season,
that's right,
is a special teams guru. What do you feel like we're going to get it from Nate?
I like Nate. I mean, a lot of teams don't run the ball back very far on special. Like their average starting position is like between the 20 and 30 yard line, if I'm not mistaken. Troy Apke came in to be a cornerback, morphed into a special teams ace. DeAndre Carter brought some explosion last year to us. Steven Sims, Butterfingers, he brought some excitement. So and now we're looking at what Alex Erickson maybe, or maybe even Jahan Dotson, something like that. I don't know, but look for some more explosion back there, returning kicks. I like Nate. I think his job is safe. Tressway is a gem. Oklahoma or not fan, whatever. He's a gem. I think we finally maybe have a solid kicking game now in Joey Sly. I mean, he was 4th ranked on the Madden ratings for kick power, which is pretty nice. Yeah, he had the hamstrings injury last year, but whatever. But I think that's a good pickup. I think he'll do well for us. But I love the special teams. Our special teams is a very important piece, to the football game. And a lot of people overlook it, but say what you want about Troy Apke. He's down the field first. Cam Sims, too. They're our best gunners. And they seem like they both were trying to fight for positions on their respective positions on the field, wide receiver and cornerback, but they do their most production on special teams. So I love Nate and what he's done with our special teams. Keep him.
Yeah, they definitely seem pretty effective. And, of course, having, Joey, the leg Sly is going to help out with that. Just don't run back to try to make a tackle, please.
I mean, love the heart and dedication.
He's big enough, though. He's a big boy. He's like a Viking.
Yeah. He can actually fill some of those linebacker spots, but For Stoner, I'm going to take Jack Del Rio to you here. We've all said that he's kind of on the hot seat.
Yeah.
He is.
Where do you stand with Jack Del Rio and the job he's done here as a coach in these what will be his third season?
Geez, where do I start? Right, man, it's so coaching is so difficult to judge because you're not in the rooms, you're not in those individual rooms day in and day out like he is. You have no idea what sort of plan that he's drawn up. All you can do is look at the result, right? But there are certain coaches where it doesn't matter what they do or what sort of talent that they bring to a team. Whatever is in their huddle, that's going to decide whether or not you're a good coach, right? I mean, Josh McDaniels made his bones with Tom Brady, right? Was that Tom Brady or was that Josh McDaniels? And you go all the way back to the days of Norv Turner when he was coaching the Cowboys. He was the offensive coordinator. Well, was he a great offensive coordinator, or did he have Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin and Jay Novacek and Emmitt Smith and all those great players on the line and the other receiver? Which is it? Is it he's a great coach, or he had great players, or was it a mix? So 2 years ago, Jack Del Rio had a top 5 defense. Some rankings, he was number 2. They had the number 2 defense. Even in some, it was a number 1, depending on what metric you're looking at. Is that because Jack Del Rio is a great coach, or because of the schedule of the quarterbacks he was playing, or was it because the players were playing out of their mind? He had more talent. He didn't just all of a sudden forget how to coach defenses last year. So it's hard to really quantitatively decide whether a coach is doing a great job. All you can do is look at the result, the scoreboard, and say, do we want this guy?
That's what you're basing it off of?
Right.
He's horrible.
Yeah.
Right. But 2 years ago, he wasn't horrible.
I know you prefer that sniff test, right?
That's right.
If you actually do look at so when you're talking when he was ranked the top 5, right? So when you look at it in that perspective, that ranking typically comes from total yards allowed and those kind of basic statistics that are box scores, right?
Yeah.
When you actually look at the advanced statistics, and if you actually look and break down the game, you would notice that, as you were talking about, they had a pretty weak schedule. And so the games that you would expect the defense to perform well in, they performed well in. But then when they went up against somebody who actually knew how to call an offensive game plan, that's when they broke down and didn't have the tools to be successful. And so Jack Del Rio, to me, is still kind of one of these, even throughout the years, and he has had successful defenses. I'm still on the fence on whether or not he can actually coach a team or if he just needs the right circumstances.
I'm there with
George, I'm not sure where you stand on this, but one of the things that we believe here on Ref the District is that the two sides play into each other, right? If the offense, which has been abysmal these last few years, can pick it up, Jack Del Rio's job will be easier. So with Scott Turner, where do you feel like he's going to be this year? Is this a make or break year for Scott Turner? We've talked about Jack Del Rio being on the hot seat, but you really haven't seen an offense that's been lighting it up under Scott Turner.
100%. That's a good point. It's going to be interesting altogether with the continuity of the team. I think this is a very pivotal year 3 with Rivera, right? If we win like 10 or 11 games, I can see most of the coaching staff return. Just touching on Jack Del Rio, I think he's on a very, very hot seat. And I think, a lot of us grew up in the DMV. We kind of know the politics at how things are. Jack Del Rio's comments, people don't want to talk about it, but I think that does create some bad publicity and some negativity around the team as well. So he is kind of radioactive in regard to being on the team. I think his performance is, below average, but at the same time, this off the field antics are also making it more hot for him, in my opinion. But going to Scott Turner, I kind of like him. I know people kind of like are they're not big fans of him, but I think he's been dealt a bad hand. Having 8 quarterbacks over the past 3 years. Even Taylor Heineke is a great effort, great energy, but at the same time, it had limitations to the offense. I do think that this is going to be his first true year to actually implement what is going, what he could potentially do. And I think Ron Rivera is protecting him. If I recall correctly, he actually got an extension during the offseason, another like 2 or 3 years. So I think it kind of like doubled down on the confidence behind him. And I just think that with a healthy Curtis Samuel, with a true power back with Brian Robinson, with Jahan Dotson in the slot, with Carson Wentz at the quarterback, I think we're going to start seeing what Scott Turner can actually do. And I expect a little bump. I think of the two position groups, I think I'm more confident in the offense and the defense this year. I don't know if you guys feel the same way with me, but I did like a 53-man like roster projection on my podcast, and it was like the offense is pretty solid. I think like, maybe, I think maybe 9 of the 11 positions are already, solidified, and like 18 of the 20 spots are pretty much locked up there. But defense, after a starting lineup, it's up in the air. So I'm confident in Scott Turner. I think we're going to see some innovative things. I think his offense kind of meshes with this new current era, right? A lot of like, jet sweeps and pre-snap motions and running the ball quickly and things like that. I think he got it. And I think with his dad being around and present during training camp, he has the insulation to do well. So I'm rooting for him. I think I think this is going to be a good year. And I think we should be patient. If he shows growth this year, I think he'll even do better the year afterwards. I think it's still like his true test will be this year with actual ingredients to play with.
Yep. I agree with George on that, because with the bad hand, he's had to game plan for 8 different quarterbacks.
Different skill sets too, right?
Yeah, different skill sets. During COVID, Ron Rivera was battling cancer, so like he had a lot on his plate just to go out there.
Throw the deep ball.
Yeah,
things,
so
things that are very limiting
he was
to an
limiting his
offense.
own his own offensive scheme himself, which he probably hated. But like George said, we've got the pieces now that can kind of open up his actual playbook that we brought him here to open up. I'm excited as hell too. So
Stoner, you brought up the nepotism earlier, and this is another one that got a coaching start because his dad was a coach. Now, Norv Turner was a great offensive mind, and he could actually do some really good things as an offensive coordinator. Do you see that potential with his son here and the Burgundy and Gold, or do you feel like we're still probably going to see 20 points per game this year with a Turner run offense?
No, very, very simple. 2 words: Carson Wentz. You have the best quarterback that this team has seen since Kirk Cousins. So it's been 5 years or whatever it's been of ineptitude quarterback play, as Trev and George have both mentioned already. If you have somebody who's competent at that position, you're going to be able to do things as a coordinator, draw things up that are play to those strengths. As George said, he was limited in what he could do with Taylor Heineke. So now you're not limited. So now you've got Carson Wentz. Now we're going to find out the true test of Scott Turner.
And it's funny. It's kind of embarrassing, but for me personally, I want to score a lot of points. I want to win, but like just to see a deep bomb down the field, like being caught, not trying to carry killed, like, that would be like a touchdown for me. I don't care if it's a 20-yard bomb or a 30-yard. As long as Terry goes up clean and comes down clean, I'm going to be like,
it's funny you should mention that, Trev, because the one that keeps coming to mind
Cowboys
here
one,
is
right?
the one you call. Trev called this on our live stream. We do the live stream for
play
and commentary. We called that. Trev specifically called it. It's going to be a play action bomb to Terry McLaurin. That's exactly what it was. First play of the game. If that's Carson Wentz, or if that's a QB that can actually throw deep,
touchdown, or at least
it's either a touchdown or a big gain, right?
Yeah,
because it was Taylor Heineke. And I'm not trying. Sorry, Heineke.
Keep it real, dude. Keep it real.
Yeah. He just didn't make that throw, right?
Yeah.
He did not make that throw, and Diggs looked like a superstar.
Yeah.
Being able to actually backtrack and block that ball coming. But if that ball is actually thrown deep, if that ball is thrown ahead of Terry chases that down, touchdown or long gain, because he had Diggs beat.
How exciting is that going to be when that actually happens this year? Well, a couple of bombs. It'd be awesome, Trevor. I know you're talking about it.
Yeah, Kyle Allen did it twice last year, and we were like, "Yo, put him in."
Terry McLaurin's first touchdown came off of just a wonderful route, and deep pass, and it looked great from Case Keenum of all people.
Yeah, I know.
And so hopefully this offense does live up. But if this offense falls back into kind of like that 20 to 25 range, are we going to finally move on from Scott Turner has potential?
I think you're on the right point, Nathan. There's no excuses anymore, right? He has everything. So like if we're sitting there at 25, 26, you have to start raising an eyebrow at that point. I think he's the safest of the coordinators. I don't think he's going to be gone in 2023. He'll still be back here next year, but he doesn't have any excuses anymore. I think Del Rio, right now he's on his last legs. He has all the talent in the world. We've been investing in all this defensive capital in the first round, and he's still not performing. Like, when's the last time we spent a first round pick? I guess it was Dwayne Haskins, let's just say, on the offensive side of the ball. But we haven't really invested in it that much, so there really isn't any excuses for him. But I'm confident. I think there'll be some growth this year, in my opinion.
For sure.
Well, some would say that this person right here, head coach Ron Rivera, might have the safest seat in the house. Stoner, you don't think so? You think that Ron Rivera could potentially be gone after this year if it's a bad year?
Ron Rivera is the best thing that's happened to this organization, this franchise, since Dan Snyder became owner. Well, Gibbs 2.0 was
Gibbs too.
And I want to make sure to clarify here, you're not saying Dan Snyder becoming the owner was a good thing, right?
No, I said since
you're
he
saying so. I just clarify here for us to make sure under Dan Snyder's tenure,
right?
Ron Rivera is the best thing to happen outside of Joe Gibbs being hired. Because the way you worded that,
I worded
made it seem like Dan Snyder's was a good thing. Because he said the saying is the best thing since sliced bread, right? Sliced bread's a good thing. Stoner just is like, it's the best thing since Dan Snyder took over the team. Like, well, wait, Dan Snyder taking over the team is a good thing, not a good thing. So we just wanted to clarify.
All right. But the point is, that is maybe he's not the best because of Joe Gibbs 2.0, but he's the most important thing that has happened to this organization under Dan Snyder's leadership. He has done everything that was expected of him and hoped of him and wanted by the fans. He's brought respectability. He's brought class. He's brought
put the ping pong tables out.
He's done everything that we've wanted except win.
He won a division championship 2 years ago during COVID and battling cancer at 7-9. I don't care. Discredit all you want. But hey, a win's a win during COVID, and he was battling cancer. And come on. Okay, guys.
7-9 though.
A win's a win. Win's a win.
All right, Trev. All right, listen, that's fine. You wanna couch that.
Trev is also going to take the moral victory against Tampa Bay in the playoffs.
I'll take the playoff win for sure.
Come on.
Yeah. So he's done everything basically except win consistently.
Produce on the field.
And Stoner, I agree with you 100%. Sorry, I'm interrupting you or anybody on there. I'm sorry. I think we need that stability. Like, we were blessed to get Ron Rivera as our head coach. And a lot of people are going to kill me for saying that. It was like, when Jay Gruden walked, it was like we were in the hottest mess that we've been in a very, very long time. It was like Bruce Allen was, toxic. And I think he got fired at the same time. Jay Gruden, like, when he got fired, it was a scandal. Midway through the year, he was like smoking cigarettes with like co-eds and like it was real ugly and messy. Like one Loudon pictures were leaking. It was awful. So like our team, he came in. This is my narrative on Ron Rivera. He's a great transitional coach, right? We need him for our team to create a sense of professionalism. We need him to take the bullets in the media. We need him to basically change the culture of our team. Do I think he's going to be that innovative Andy Reid, Sean Payton, change the offense, scoring 30 points a game kind of coach? I don't think he's ever going to get to that point.
Correct.
Which I think that's where it's interesting. I think the best thing for us is if Ron Rivera sticks around and pivots from head coach and maybe even front office even.
That'd be nice.
And then someone maybe like dream scenario. It's going to sound very controversial. If Scott Turner becomes legit and is an awesome offensive coordinator, then he potentially becomes the head coach or something of that regard. Like, we got the next, Kevin O'Connell or Sean McVay kind of guy. That would be the dream scenario. But I think we need him. I feel thankful every single day with all the different scandals out there, him standing in front of the podium instead of some rookie head coach. So thank God for that professionalism. So I'll take it all day long. And I think people kind of forget that nuance. They're always like, we're not 15-1 or 15-2. I'm like, dude, just baby steps. We were a really bad organization for years. He is transitioning us up. So take that. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
But
given that respectability,
make no mistake, George. If they have a horrific year on the field and Carson Wentz bombs out and all this other stuff, and they end up 3-14, like some people are predicting. If they end up like that, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to move on.
Well, yeah, for sure.
He's going to get a lot of heat.
I think it's
for
imperative that you do. If you end up 3-14, you're looking at one of the top picks, right?
What?
To me, you got to move on from the whole coaching staff. You're moving on from Carson Wentz because obviously he wasn't the deal, which is one of the reasons why I love the Carson Wentz contract. Is that allows you to move on without anything in the book's future and let the new coach get his guy from the start. I think that's important. But Trev, do you really think we're going to be 3-14? Do you think Ron Rivera is going to be in that hot seat that much? Or do you think that Ron's got a few more years here in the burgundy and gold?
First, we're not going to be 3-14. Although I must admit, week 1 is starting to scare me a little bit. I'm just saying, as we get closer,
you can't lose.
Don't mean that curse on me, Trevor.
I know, but we cannot lose that game. I watched Trevor Lawrence press conference, and he sounded so confident, and like I was like, we can't sleep on them. We can't. Anyway, we can't sleep on them. But we won't. We won't go 3-14. But I think my question was going to be like, what's the safest record we can have in order for him to keep his job for next year? Is it 9-8? Is it 10-7? Do we have to win double-digit games, or do we have to win 9-8? And we're like in that playoff contention that we always hate to be at the end of the game, where 7 people have to lose and us to get in. But like, if we were at the Colts last year, they ended up 9-8.
I might be the outlier here, Trev, but I've put that number at 6. If they only win 6 games, then if you go up to 7, all the more power to you. I just don't think
10. You bring them back again.
That's it. It's really hard. It's really hard to justify that.
I agree. I agree with Nathan there.
7-10, you bring them back.
No, 7-10. You really have to question whether or not it's worth it. 6, I'm saying he's gone for sure.
So you need to
move on for 6.
I think if he's 7-10, he's still safe in my opinion. I think he's pretty safe. I think
what's the safest record on the losing side, I guess?
I think 5-12 is when you start talking about whether he should be on the team anymore. I think if he's 7-10, 3-14, he's gone.
Everybody's gone.
So you're saying 5 wins is where George's line is 5 wins.
Okay.
Mine is 6.
Not what I would do. I think
hold on 1 second.
Go ahead.
I got some time. I'm gonna put up the schedule real quick, and I want to see
where we stand. Stoner, give your win count. What are you at? Where are you getting rid of Ron Rivera? I'm at 6. He's at 5.
I think 5 is the breaking point for me. Yeah, for sure.
I can't have a coach go 4 straight years of winning 7 games.
Did you guys see my tweet, by the way, the other day? I don't know if you saw it, but over the last 6 years, we average about like 7 wins, which is crazy. It's like I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we're either
you're breaking down the Gruden years. Yeah, it's been a lot of mediocrity.
Yeah, there's a 1 year of 3-13.
While Trev's bringing up the schedule here, you brought up how we've talked about how Ron Rivera here is the right coach for it. And I completely agree with that statement. I've talked about this a couple of times, so I don't think it's controversial because no one's picked it up and yelled at me yet. But I liken him to a different George, not George Carmi, who's here with us and doing great things with the FPC. But I liken him to George Allen. Right? George Allen was a coach that was the right time for the right era, didn't necessarily bring Washington to the promised land, was more successful than Ron Rivera has been, but he didn't win the Super Bowl, right? But what ended up, bringing us back into prominence led to getting Joe Gibbs and then those Super Bowl years. And so that's how I feel about Ron Rivera. The team was just so down. They needed a coach like Ron Rivera to bring this team back to respectability. And then maybe he's not the one to win the Super Bowl, but maybe a couple of coaches down the line at least are in position to be successful.
Look at Nathan predicting Super Bowls for the Washington franchise all of a sudden. All right.
Annoyingly optimistic. Trev, who do you got on the schedule here?
So if we go 9-8 and those losses, some of those losses are to the Jags, the Lions, the Bears, and let's say the Texans, and we end up 9-8. Do we keep Ron Rivera and Carson Wentz?
9-8, you're keeping them.
No matter what?
Keep them both.
No matter what?
No matter what.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the NFL, man. You can lose to anybody anytime.
Apparently not. Carson Wentz lost to Jacksonville and lost his job the next day. So
no, but I'm saying,
though, if you listed off 4 bad teams there, there's some good teams. They're about to say there's some good teams on there that they beat. So now you have to actually look at it again. If they beat the Packers, if they beat the Vikings, they beat the Dallas Cowboys. Right? You're looking at like, okay, at 9-8, you're bringing it back. You're bringing it back unless like, they're 9-8 and the offense was like top 10, but the defense was 20.
I'm just getting it.
You might get rid of coordinator, right? Or if it's vice versa, that's where you switch it at the coordinator level, but you're bringing back Ron Rivera at 9-8.
I think the whole coaching regime, this is my prediction now, whatever, July, I guess.
Yeah.
The offensive side of the ball is not going to change. I think the offensive side of the ball I think Matt's going to maybe retires after year 30 or something in that regard. I think right now there's a higher probability that Jack Del Rio's not going to be here. I think it's 60-40. He's not going to be here in 2023. And
Coach of an XFL team.
It's gonna be like, I can see that. Like San Antonio.
We'll take Greg Williams' spot. We'll trade Greg Williams for Jack Del Rio.
Yeah.
Can you do that? Can you make a trade between leagues? That'd be dope.
Jack Del Rio's gone. For me, Jack Del Rio's he's probably gone. And I think Chris Harris is probably gone. I think he's gonna probably take a new position next year. I think we're gonna see some defensive change. I think Scott Turner's pretty damn safe. Ron Rivera's pretty damn safe, unless his health takes a little spin or something like that. But I don't think Ron Rivera going anywhere. I have
one note. You kind of mentioned this, George, when we're talking the coordinators and Scott Turner, and now that we're on Ron Rivera, I would love, if Scott Turner blossoms, I would love for him to become the next head coach, because in today's NFL, you want to have an offensive-minded head coach, because you can rotate those defense. You can do that. But if you lose that offensive firepower, and we've seen this, right, with Shanahan, with O'Connell, with McVay, those guys are going elsewhere because you can't keep that offensive talent, because teams want that. So hire the offensive-minded coach so you can keep that going and rotate out the defense, because I think that's a little bit easier, maybe not in the grand scheme of things, but it is a lot easier to replace and find a good coach on the defensive side than it is to find the right person on the offensive side.
How about
Trev? Hit us.
We go 8-9. Do we transition Ron Rivera to defensive coordinator and then we go find a new head coach?
What? No respectable head coach is gonna take a demotion.
I mean, I'm just saying
he's moving to the front office, or he's moving to a presidential.
Would you accept that if he put his name in the hat for that for some reason? Would you accept that?
Not going to happen.
No.
Well, Ron Rivera became a defense. What I need to say? You said Ron Rivera became a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, he's
insulted to him.
I know he's not, but guys, it's a hypothetical. Jesus,
Trev just started drinking apparently, and
the Wolf got 13-0.
Jameson or something. What's going on over there? It's crazy.
He's got some strong stuff in there.
Or whatever.
George, we appreciate you jumping on here with us. Yes. Where can our viewers find you?
I appreciate that, man. And thank you for having me on. I love talking to you guys. You guys will be on my show pretty soon. I love it, guys. It's great talking all the time. I'm George Carmi. You can find me at gcarmi21. I also handle the @FPC_commanders handle as well. That's full press coverage, and basically I oversee the Full Press Commanders branch of that company, and I run the Full Press Commanders podcast. And you guys should definitely check it out on YouTube. I'm 15 videos deep, trying to make it grow. So I'll gladly please like and subscribe and comment on that. That'd be awesome. Yes, and guys, you two and everyone listening, I'll be in section 110 in the red zone lot this whole fall. So come by and hang out. I love talking football. I'm definitely an open person. So let's hang out, man. I'm down for it.
He's definitely a fun one to watch a game with. So definitely check him out if you happen to go to a game. If you don't, check us out on our live stream of the games. Make sure you head out to Full Press Coverage. Give them a subscription. Help George here grow his channel. Of course, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and until next time, be a fan.
Peace.
What's up, guys? Thanks for watching. Trevor here, 1/3 of Rep the District. Be sure to like and subscribe this channel for us, please. We greatly appreciate it. And after that, take a look at some of this extra stuff we got on our channel too. You don't want to miss it. And always, be a fan.